Hello everybody, welcome back to an episode of Red Dead Redemption Character Analysis. We're back here, and just to address a few housekeeping things on the channel, I'm really trying to do more talking videos, like in terms of on PlayStation and everything. But my mic actually broke on PlayStation, so I can't really do PlayStation related videos like Let's Play or Minecraft Adventures or whatever, what be it. It just actually broke, was it Friday, Saturday night? I don't know, it's miscellaneous. Um, Irrelevant, or whatever you want to say. But it broke, and I'm having a new one coming in. So by next week, we'll be getting back on track with more of the regular scheduled videos. But that's why I've been having gameplay and stuff come out. But I'm able to make character analysis and stuff on my phone with my other microphone. I just can't use it on PlayStation. But regardless, that's what's going on. Just a little side note here. But we'll be back to more of our you know series and everything and whatnot, all on on next week's content schedule. So just to get that out of the way. But we're back here with our Red Dead character analysis. I'm really going to try and push this series forward. And it's been a little bit of a while since we did the last one, but we're back here, and we're going to do Bonnie Macfarlane. Now, Bonnie, she is very important. Now, she was featured in Red Dead 2, very briefly, and we'll be talking about that. But she is more or less of a main character in the New Austin chapter in Red Dead 1. She is, you know, she's a decently important character because she did indeed save John Marston's life, and I believe we did mention in the John Marston character analysis. But you see her in the gameplay here. This is how she looks in Red Dead 1. This is the Red Dead 1 version of her, of course, in the online mode. Now, like I said, she's very important because she did end up saving John Marston's life in Red Dead 1. So we'll be going over that. Obviously, getting all this from the Red Dead Wiki, great site. So we're just going to get right into it. So Bonnie Macfarlane is a recurring character in the Red Dead series, appearing as a major character in Red Dead Redemption and as a stranger in Red Dead Online. She's also referenced in Red Dead Redemption 2. With the addition of the Liars and Cheats DLC pack for Red Dead Redemption, or for Redemption, Bonnie Macfarlane is also a character in multiplayer, which is pretty much what you see in the gameplay here. Now, her background, we're just going to get into her background. Bonnie is the daughter of Drew Macfarlane, the owner of Macfarlane's Ranch. We're not going to do a character analysis on him because he's too big of a character. But she has spent her whole life working on the ranch with her father, born in 1884. She shares the same birth year as one of her brothers, Ethan, so it's most likely that they are fraternal twins. When she was young, her father hired a French governess, who Bonnie suspected of not being truly French, due to the fact that she spoke Russian, which is interesting. To teach her and keep her civilized. She had six brothers, but five of them died to either illness or accident. She did mention that in the game. Her sole surviving brother, Patrick Macfarlane, moved to New York, where he supposedly works as a banker in Manhattan. With the majority of her generation deceased and the only other surviving male child leaving the family, Bonnie feels it is up to her to become the quote-unquote man for their family's ranch. We're just going to briefly go over the events of Red Dead Online. The protagonist can encounter Bonnie on the porch of her home at Macfarlane's ranch. She will initially mistake them for a robber, but soon deduces that they are actually looking for work, and proceeds to explain that she and her father are planning on packing up and moving for a while to avoid the cholera outbreak that has swept through Armadillo. And Amos then interrupts, which is one of the farm hands, which you also see in Red Dead 1. He interrupts their conversation to reveal that one of their wagons has gone missing, leading Bonnie sending the protagonist to retrieve it, promising to pay them on their return, and afterward Bonnie can be found again in Macfarlane's ranch, and will offer recovery, delivery, escort, and hunting missions to the player. Accepting her missions will increase the player's honor. Bonnie is mentioned also along with her father Drew as having to get out of New Austin temporarily due to a cholera outbreak afflicting the populace in the territory. And Arthur Morgan and or John Marston can come across a possible suitor of hers south of Van Horn Trading Post. The player finds him near death and obtains a letter from his titled Letter to Bonnie Macfarlane. The letter details his father's disapproval of him, leading him to make his fortune, quote unquote. In an effort to gain his approval and return to her, he can also be found on a beach south of Flatneck Station. So that was pretty much any mention, and actually, you actually see her in Red Dead Online and briefly in Red Dead Redemption 2, the story mode. She was very briefly shown and mentioned in Red Dead Redemption. That was pretty much her entire appearance and everything in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now we're going to be moving on to where she plays a lot bigger role in the first game, Red Dead Redemption 1. Now, in New Austin, she is first seen on the train from Blackwater in the very beginning of the game. The next morning, Bonnie rescues John by the road after he is seriously wounded in the initial confrontation with Bill Williamson at Fort Mercer. Bonnie pays the doctor $15 for Marston's treatment and provides lodging in return for assistance with duties on the ranch. John does several missions at the ranch. After finding out that John is at the ranch, Bill Williamson's men set the ranch's barn on fire, and John risks his life to rescue the horses out of the burning barn. Now, this is actually where the Bonnie story actually starts to get kind of interesting. That's also kind of scary. But Bonnie is later taken hostage by members of Bill Williamson's gang, looking for exchange for her for Norman Deek, which is basically one of the members of the gang. From the Armadillo jail, after traveling to the ghost town of Tumbleweed and attempting to hand the man over, it is revealed to be an ambush, and the gang attempts to hang, brutally beaten Bonnie, but the rope tightens around the side of her throat, preventing her neck from being broken. After an intense battle, John then cuts the rope, provided that he hadn't previously severed it by shooting it, and Marshal Lee Johnson takes her back to Armadillo after all Williamson's goons are killed. Now, west of Elizabeth, after the death of Dutch Vanderlinde, sorry I pronounce it like that, John returns to Macfarlane's ranch with Jack and visits Bonnie to purchase cattle. She then helps him to herd the cattle back to Beecher's Hope, accompanying them just beyond the outskirts of the ranch. Shortly after, Bonnie calls upon John by telegraph to bring the ranch some corn to make up for crops lost from the pests at the ranch. Her request is received, so John and Abigail Marston visit the ranch. Miss Macfarlane has a friendly conversation with Abigail, who later states that she liked Bonnie. Afterwards, the Marston couple leaves the ranch. Bonnie gazes longingly after the couple, shuffling her feet as she watches the wagon leave. She then turns to Amos as he walks into the general store, then follows them in, which is a interesting little scene. Making her last appearance in the main storyline, and it is suggested by Abigail that Bonnie had developed feelings for John, and the way that she stared at the two as they left also supports this, and it is unknown if she ever learns of Marston's death. Now, in the epilogue, by 1914, Bonnie has already gotten married, though it is not stated to whom. Jack Marston is still welcome at the Macfarlane's ranch and is able to make use of the cabin his father once recovered in. Bonnie is not seen by Jack, although the ranch operates just as it did in 1911. In 1914, NPCs can be heard discussing that she found a husband. Now, as in every character analysis, at least for Red Dead 1, um, I will be going over the events for Red Dead 1 characters and the role they played in Undead Nightmare, because most of the characters did make an appearance in Undead Nightmare. So we'll be talking about Bonnie's events in Undead Nightmare. Now, I know that obviously the events of Undead Nightmare are not canon to the main story, so it's kind of irrelevant, but I figured it's very interesting to throw in what happens to them in Undead Nightmare. Now, Bonnie appears at the ranch, seemingly unfazed by the zombie epidemic, but seems mentally disturbed from her words. She nonchalantly tells John that her father, Drew Macfarlane, was rounding up the undead in the barn, and there since the day before, and asks John to check on him, which begins the side mission Parental Pride, and after John tells her the fate of her father, and spoiler alert, unfortunately, in this Undead Nightmare storyline, Drew Macfarlane dies. She states that she is glad that he fought protecting those he loved and walks back into the house after that, and she isn't seen for the rest of the game. So very short little stranger mission you play in Undead Nightmare, but kind of a small part. Now, I don't always do this, but since it's kind of near the end here, I'm going to talk about some of the quotes she has. So, as Bonnie would say, change is only good when it makes things better. With your trigger itch and my feminine intuition, we should make quite a team. And you do so love to talk in riddles, Mr. Marston. Do my eyes deceive me? A devil walks among us. So those are just some little quotes that I wanted to put in there. Now, she does actually, the whole riddle thing is actually interesting because Marston does talk a lot in riddles, and she actually is one to pick up on that. Bonnie is. And it's quite the interesting little tag storyline. Bonnie is a very interesting character. I personally think she is super important to the story because she's the only one who actually saved John from pretty much bleeding out and dying on the road, or on the side of the road after Bill Williamson shot him. Now, while she might not have a big part in the rest of the Red Dead storyline, but just that little, in that little nuanced chapter and the missions you do for her, she does play a big role. So I figured she's a very important character enough to do a character analysis on, and she's pretty interesting character overall. Like I said, I really like her character, and the company, the company she keeps in the missions that you do is actually very nice, and it's actually nice, chill starter missions. It's not like crazy missions where you're killing people or whatever. Like maybe towards the ending of the Bonnie arc, you did have the burning and the where she got hanged or hung. I'm not sure how you say that. I'm pretty sure it's hanged. Where she got hanged. Sorry, I don't know how to say that. But but most of her missions are chill. Is my point. They are chill, kind of calm missions, and she keeps good company. So it's actually Very nice. But that'll pretty much do it for today's Red Dead Redemption character analysis. We're going to pretty much, like I said, it's going to be a big character analysis because we have the rest. I already have the rest of the Red Dead 1 characters planned out, and then we're going to do the Red Dead Redemption 2 strictly only characters, which pretty much means that the Red Dead characters that only make an appearance in Red Dead 2. So, for example, like Lenny, which we're probably going to do character analysis on Lenny. But he's, obviously he's only in Red Dead 2, so that's the kind of characters we'll be talking about that only appear in Red Dead 2. So we'll be getting to that pretty soon. But this character analysis will be lasting for quite some time because it is a big game with a lot of interesting characters. So, but yeah, that's pretty much do it for today's character analysis. So make sure to subscribe for more content, like the video, all good stuff. Discord, Twitch, Instagram, links in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video.